Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we'll be turning the world's largest dragon egg. Now to do that, we're going to need some Australian mallee burl and some epoxy resin. Now let's get started. Look at the size of this thing. This will be the biggest blank I've ever used. Normally I'd stabilise the burl prior to casting, but because this one is so large it doesn't fit in my vac chamber, so there's no way for me to stabilise it. So the next best thing is to coat it in resin, that way it'll seal it up and prevent any air escaping. This particular resin is mixed at a ratio of 2 to 1 by weight, so I'm just going to use my bathroom scales. Holy crap, that is a lot of resin. Now it's time to mix it up. This has to be the thinnest resin that I've ever used. It's almost like water. That's going to be really good in releasing these bubbles. Now because this blank is going to be similar to my Universe eggs, I've gone ahead and dropped a couple of drops of blue alcohol ink and my signature Starry Night. So the next step will be to pour some into this 5 litre container and start degassing it in the vacuum chamber. Nearly 15 litres or 4 gallons worth of degassed resin. So the next thing I need to do is move this bench under the air conditioner because I'm not too sure what these temperatures are going to be like. So just to play it safe, I'll put it under the aircon and then we'll start pouring. I think the best way to pour this resin in without creating more air is to run it down a stick. So I've got this metal mixing bar here, we're just going to use that. This could be a bit tricky to film, I may get in the way of the camera, but just bear with me. I do apologise about that. I just had to get in front of the camera. I felt like I was going to drop it otherwise, but anyway, that's our first 5 litres. Let's put the next one in. I'm actually standing on a ladder to do this as well. So it's like one big balancing act. Now I'm just going to give it a little stir to mix it all together. So I guess all we have to do now is wait. I'll put an extra fan up there under the aircon to keep it nice and cool. We've got our GoPro time lapse running. I think we'll be okay. I'll come back and check on it in a few hours. So it's now 20 past 11 at night. It's been 9 hours since I did the initial mixing and 5 hours since we poured. looking pretty good. Nowhere near set yet. And as far as the heat goes, it feels maybe a bit slightly warmer than room temperature. So I'm off to bed now. We'll let this sit and we'll check on it in the morning. Hi everyone, this is Ben from the future, and I just wanted to quickly interrupt this episode to let you guys know that we currently have a massive sale going on in our Etsy store. Everything at the moment is 10% off and all our shirts are 30% off. So if you guys want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description or at the top of the screen here. And also every order gets a free gift. So if you guys have been looking at grabbing yourself a dragon egg, a dragon book, a skull, a frog, a keychain, there's so much in there, so go check it out. Now let's get back to this episode. So that last clip you just saw, I filmed that over 4 weeks ago. Now let me explain to you why. So I went ahead and made a smaller one. Now this one's still a decent size. It was done in a 10-litre bucket, but I'll show you why I had to do it. So there was 2 main reasons why I had to make the smaller one as opposed to using this big one. The first one is the weight of this thing. It weighs 20 kilos, and I was just a bit worried about putting this on the lathe because I just don't know how well it'd turn. And the second reason, I got some air bubbles. Now the main reason for that was because I was unable to stabilize this piece of burl. And that was the main reason for going for the smaller size. I was able to put this piece in the vac chamber, and I actually had it stabilizing for 2 whole days, and all the bubbles stopped. Now unfortunately, I still got a couple in this one. Now they definitely aren't as bad, there are a couple in there, but I feel way more confident putting this on the lathe and turning it up. Now this big one won't go to waste. I do have a plan for that, but we'll talk about that later on in the video. For now, I'm going to mount this on the lathe and hopefully it doesn't fly off and take my head off. So before we start turning this monster, I want you to go down in the comments section and let me know, what do you think will happen? Do you think it's going to stay on? Do you think it's going to fly off? What do you reckon? I'll definitely have my face shield on, but I just don't know. It's so big. Hopefully it'll be alright. There is one more thing I forgot to mention. Before attempting to turn this, I did check to see how hard the resin was. Now you can do that with a shore meter. You just turn it on and push the pin all the way down and it'll give you a reading on the front here. Ideally, you want to be at least over 75 shore D before turning. So you can see here we're at 78. Now because I've never turned a piece this large on the lathe before, I'm not too sure about what speed I'm going to use. I'm probably going to start off around the 250 mark, maybe 300. We'll see how we go. I'll probably let the piece determine my speed, but once we true it up, we'll definitely be able to turn it up a bit more. So what you guys just saw in those last few minutes took me nearly 4 hours to do. This thing really kicked my butt, but look at the size of this thing. It's amazing. And it really makes me think, what am I going to do with this? Let me know what you would do. I know some of you guys are probably thinking, why didn't you make a smaller blank? That way you wouldn't have to turn off so much. Well, the point in this video was to push this resin to the limits and see how far we could go in one single pour. Now I think we did that and it turned out pretty good. Now the next test will be how well does it polish up. So I'm going to take this now, give it a sand, give it a polish, and we'll see how it looks. Reminds me of a big balloon. I dare say this is going to take me a couple of hours, so I'll keep this bit nice and short so I don't bore you guys. You know, besides getting these bubbles inside, we also got something else. We got two little bugs trapped in there. Reminds me very much of Jurassic Park. Now, are you guys ready to see how this egg looks 4 years later? Let's take a look. I can't believe it's been over 4 years since I turned this on the lathe, and it still looks just as good as the day I finished it. All I had to do was take a microfiber and clean all the dust off the top, and it still looks amazing. So let's have a closer look. Well, what do you guys think? Do you reckon it held up pretty good for 4 years? I'm actually really surprised we didn't get any separation between the resin and the burl. It's held up really nice. I'm quite impressed. Now, if you guys have seen this NFL ball off to the side, you might be wondering what that's all about. Well, as you guys know, the Super Bowl is just around the corner. And if you guys haven't seen it already, Nicole and I attempted to make our own Super Bowl trophy. Now, as a couple of Australians, we don't know too much about NFL, but we did try our best. Now, if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description or at the top here. We have a ton of fun on our Second Maker channel, and I think you might enjoy it. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.